I can't complain, but my married life hasn't been as exciting as I had hoped. My husband works hard as a contractor to support our lavish home, where I spend most of my time alone. My dream is to become a successful actress, and I keep going to castings that my manager sends me to, but I haven't been cast in a role in a while. I was very bored until my brother-in-law, Caleb, began to visit us frequently. He wasn't supposed to be here because my husband hired him to do some repairs around the house, but I'm really enjoying his presence because he's not only very handsome and fun, but he keeps me company. I spend my days reading scripts and rehearsing scenes. Though Caleb and Kevin are only a few years apart, Caleb's adventurous nature sets him apart from my spouse, who is constantly considering ways to close deals and make stock market investments. My brother-in-law's involvement in our lives has made me more aware of how much I enjoy having fun. On the first day, Caleb was fixing the garden fence while I sat on the porch reading a new script. He interrupted me, asking, "What's the story about?" Actually, yes, depending on how you look at it, it's about an attractive teacher who has a forbidden romance with one of her students at college, said then you have it easy, they will surely give you the role, he told me. I raised an eyebrow in disbelief, asking, "Why are you so sure?" "Because the first person I imagine when you tell me that it is a beautiful teacher is someone like you," he responded, and I blushed right away. I was flattered by his compliment and felt a twinge of pleasure in my stomach, but that didn't stop me from staring at him as he hammered on the gate. His well-defined arms were flaunted, and his faded jeans accentuated his well-defined posterior. As he worked, his perspiration and the resulting moisture on his skin attracted my attention, especially when his shirt started to become transparent and I could barely make out the shadow of his abs. I was so engrossed in describing his incredibly muscular figure that he must have sensed the intensity of my stare because he turned around and gave me a cheeky smile. I woke up from that kind of hypnosis in which I had immersed myself and put my eyes back on the paper I had in my hands. I felt embarrassed and didn't look up again until he finished. He looked visibly tired, so I headed to the kitchen and returned with a picture of cold sweet lemonade. While he drank his second glass, I couldn't help but follow with my gaze the beads of sweat that slid from his forehead to his chin, passing along his neck and reaching his pectorals. "Do you mind if I take it off? It's too hot," he said, pointing to his shirt, and I nodded as if it didn't matter. "Go ahead," I answered him, and my voice broke a little. I couldn't believe the effect that my brother-in-law was having on me. I was absorbed in admiring the shape of his arms, but when he took off his shirt it was even worse. Just as I had imagined, his abs looked hard as a board and were completely defined. Seeing them, I felt the strange urge to reach out my hand to touch them, but I just continued admiring them. I think it might have made him uncomfortable, but all he did was smile at me. Perhaps he was accustomed to that kind of behavior with girls. I took the jug and walked out without saying anything, but I would never forget that picture. As the days went by, I started to enjoy Caleb's company more and more. It was nice to have someone else to spend time with in that large house, and he was always telling me jokes that made me laugh. I also felt like the energy flowed between us easily while he worked. One day, while he was fixing the gutters on the roof that leads to the backyard, I decided to take a quick swim in the pool. I dressed in a cute bikini that didn't leave much room for interpretation, and I was ready to get in the water, but first I chose to apply sunscreen. He wasn't intimidated. Instead, he continued to observe me from the stairs. I said, holding the bottle out to him, "I was sad at first, but I was definitely eager for a rab between us. Could you?" When Caleb stepped down from the ladder, he grabbed the bottle, brushed the hair off my back, and started to carefully spread the cream over my shoulders and down my back. When he reached the edge of my bikini bottom, I felt as though electricity ran through my body and my breathing quickened. When I turned around, we were face to face and very close to each other. Caleb just stared into my eyes, not saying anything, and I did the same. That moment seemed to last much longer than it actually did. I couldn't get enough of Caleb's unique scent, which was a combination of fresh eucalyptus and wood mixed with the sweat from his labors in the sun. I wasn't sure what it was exactly, but it had to do with his pheromones because it drew me in like a magnet, and I couldn't get enough of it no matter how much I inhaled it. One afternoon, Kevin asked Caleb to fix a moisture issue that had started to arise in our room. He was fully focused on the task, so I made the decision to stay with him because they had a large bed. He told me, "I can't imagine everything you and my brother have done there." I wasn't prepared for that remark, so I wasn't sure how to respond right away. He turned to look at me incredulously, saying, "I don't believe you. If I had a woman like you waiting for me at home every night, we wouldn't ever go to bed early. Are you really telling me this, or are you just bragging?" I told him, giving him a mischievous look. When he was done, I told him he could take a bath and invited him to join us for dinner. You have clean towels in the bathroom closet. I will be preparing dinner. Please come down to the kitchen as soon as you finish, I said, telling him to go. Even though I would have preferred to have taken a shower with my brother-in-law, I couldn't shake the memory of his abs and the sensation of his mouth on mine. As I was cooking, Kevin called to let me know when Caleb showed up. All he had on was a towel around his waist, and I found myself swallowing hard as my gaze automatically moved from his Adam's apple to his intriguing bulge. What should we eat? I was told sorry, but Kevin called and said we shouldn't wait for him to eat because he will be running late. Could you please help me make spaghetti? He approached me and grabbed my wrist to bring my hand with the paddle towards his mouth. I saw him caress the shoulder with the tip of his tongue to taste the sauce, and that caused palpitations between my legs. I told him, but I couldn't keep my eyes fixed on him. I felt like his body was calling me, and I had a crazy desire to go for it. I couldn't wait to feel his tongue on my most sensitive spot as his hand moved down my body, exposing every inch of me so that he could have this full grasp. I was biting lightly on his lips and lovingly petting his pecs and massaging his arm muscles. I spread my legs out on the table and lay back while he ran his mouth over every part of my body, kissing, licking, and caressing it with his nose, chin, and other parts. I even noticed when he took a deep breath to delight himself with my scent. I was so excited to give myself to him, and the timing was ideal because my husband would be late, giving us plenty of time to enjoy it. I could feel the humidity created by the emotion I was feeling at that moment as his mouth moved over every part of me, giving me a very enjoyable experience. Sensation that I would describe as somewhere between shivering and tingling, truly addictive. I felt him settle in and kiss my most sensitive area at that moment. I closed my eyes and let myself go. I slid my fingers through his hair and bit my lips while he made all kinds of movements with his mouth. I felt that the sensations were increasing more and more inside me to the point that my heartbeat accelerated at times. I felt the need to bring my legs together, but Caleb prevented this and kept them completely open. While I was in that position, I couldn't stop imagining what the scene we were playing out at the kitchen table looked like, and I liked that even more. Caleb must have noticed that his efforts were having very good results, because at that moment, I felt him slide a finger into me very easily. That gesture made me shudder completely, and then I began to move to the rhythm that my body was asking me to without stopping playing with his finger. He continued to kiss me on the mouth while holding my front with his other hand, playing with it and kneading it as he wanted. The sensation I was getting from all of those at once was something I had never felt with Kevin, and I couldn't help but compare them. Then what Caleb had told me earlier came back to my mind. If I had a woman like you waiting for me at home every night, there wouldn't be a single time we would go to sleep early. And I wondered if perhaps I'd married the wrong brother. That didn't matter right now, because I was here having the best of encounters with Caleb, and I was ready to enjoy it later. I could think about the consequences and let my conscience play tricks on me, but now, and while this lasted, I would give free rein to my most primitive womanly instincts. I came out of my thoughts at the same time that Caleb withdrew his finger, only to give way to something much larger and more appetizing, that which I had not been able to stop admiring. When he was wrapped in the towel, he did it in one go and immediately started moving, leaving it inside most of the time. The palpitations inside me accelerated. I could feel the blood rushing from my agitated heart to the most sensitive area of my body, which tightened around his as if it wanted to imprison him, to make us one. Caleb sat upright on the edge of the table, and I could tell he was really active. Then he started to increase the pace, and I enjoyed it even more. I was completely agitated, sweating on the table, and my nervous system was sending multiple sensations to all ends of my body. I begged him not to stop, and he, although visibly exhausted, increased the rhythm even more. That felt incredible. That hit my most sensitive area. Please, Caleb, don't stop. I've never enjoyed it so much, I said between gasps. I begged him more and more. I knew he was liking what I was telling him. I could tell my words were having an impact on him. He kept that accelerated rhythm and used his thumb where I wanted it most. That was something I couldn't stand. And suddenly I exploded in a wave of infinite sensations that I ended up pouring all over him. The rest is history. Tell me what you thought of my confession. Would you face the consequences to get what you want? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. See you soon. Caleb immediately released everything he had accumulated on my belly and laid his body on top of mine. We both breathed in agitated and exhausted breaths. We had been so focused on what we were doing that we hadn't noticed when Kevin arrived. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so don't forget to subscribe.